Title: She Made Me Leave My Friends, and Then She Betrayed Me, Part 1/3. Okay, I know how this sounds. She made me leave my friends. Like I'm some weak pushover who got caught in a toxic relationship and now wants sympathy on Reddit. But this isn't that. At least, not just that. This story isn't about heartbreak, or regret, or even revenge. It's about what really happened the night I found out who she was. To understand how I got here, I have to go back a bit. Before her, there was us. Me, Jake, Connor, Danny, and Liv. The four of us were inseparable. Friends since freshman year of college. We did everything together. Spring break trips, late-night D&D campaigns, Friendsgiving every November without fail. If you've ever had a chosen family, you know what I mean. Then came her. Emily. We met at a bookstore, because of course we did. She was standing in the horror section flipping through a tattered copy of House of Leaves, and I made some dumb joke about it being cursed. She laughed. We talked. We got coffee. You know the story. She was smart, sarcastic, kind of intense. Eyes like she could see straight through you. From the first week, she had that vibe. Like she'd been through some serious stuff, but never talked about it unless you really got close. I was hooked. And I wasn't the only one who noticed it. Danny called her a red flag wrapped in a wool sweater. Liv said she gave off step-forward goth energy. Connor was more chill, but even he raised an eyebrow when I brought her to game night, and she spent half the evening staring at the bookshelf behind us like she was looking for a way out. Still, I defended her. Over and over. She's just shy. She's had a rough past. She needs time. It got worse after I moved in with her. Not right away, though. At first, everything was perfect. She made pancakes on Sundays, wrote little notes in my lunch when I had work. I was floating. Then she started suggesting I spend less time with my friends. Danny kind of dominates every conversation, doesn't she? She'd say casually. Or, do you ever notice how Liv low-key flirts with you when I'm not around? Connor, she ignored. At first, it felt like protectiveness. Like she wanted me to herself, and honestly, I like being wanted. But then came the tests. She'd tell me she had a bad feeling about something. Like, don't go out with them tonight. I had a nightmare about it. Or she'd get sick right before I was supposed to meet up with the others. And every time I stayed, she'd smile like I'd passed some invisible exam. It kept happening. And slowly, the meetups became fewer. The texts slowed. I made excuses. Until one day, they stopped inviting me. And I told myself it was okay. Because I had Emily. And she got me. Right? Then came the weekend at her family's cabin. It was remote. Like, no signal, no neighbors, no emergency services for miles. Remote. She said we needed time away. A reset. Just the two of us. I agreed. The cabin was old. Creaky floorboards. Wood-burning stove. No Wi-Fi. There was a weird smell when we walked in, like iron and mildew, but Emily just laughed and said, "Smells like home." That night, she made stew. We drank wine. Played a board game by candlelight. It felt almost magical. Until I woke up at 2:47 a.m. to find her gone. I called for her. Nothing. I stepped outside and found her standing barefoot in the snow, wearing only a nightgown. She was staring into the woods. Not moving. Not shivering. Just staring. Emily? She turned slowly, like she hadn't heard her name in years. They followed you here, she said. I froze. What? You brought them. I told you not to. I was shaking. Who? What are you talking about? She walked toward me, her feet red from the cold, and took my face in her hands. You missed them, she whispered, and they heard it. Then she smiled. And that was the moment I knew, whoever Emily was, whatever I'd been living with, it wasn't what I thought. And I wasn't getting out of those woods alone. Part 2/3. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat on the edge of the couch, wrapped in a blanket, heart pounding in my ears. I kept expecting Emily to come back inside and tell me it was all a joke, that she was messing with me, that the weirdness in her voice and the way she said, "You brought them," was just some twisted prank. But she didn't come back in. Not for hours. At sunrise, she walked in like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't stood barefoot in the snow talking about them. She had a mug in her hand, coffee, somehow, and smiled like it was just another beautiful day in the middle of nowhere. "Hey, sleepyhead," she said. "You okay? Where were you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She tilted her head. "What do you mean? I was right here. You must have dreamed it." I wanted to argue. But there was something in her tone, light, casual, wrong, that made me hesitate. I dropped it. For the moment. But I didn't forget. Over the next 2 days, the weirdness didn't stop. I heard footsteps upstairs when Emily was in the kitchen. Doors creaked open without a breeze. I'd wake up from short naps with nosebleeds. And Emily just kept acting normal. Too normal. Like she was performing being a girlfriend. Like she was studying how to behave, not being. I found myself thinking of Danny, Liv, and Connor constantly. Their faces. Their voices. All the times I'd blown them off. It hurt. Physically hurt. Like I'd cut out part of myself to make room for someone who wasn't even real. On the third night, I finally cracked. "Emily," I said as we sat in front of the fireplace, "I want to go home." She didn't look at me, just kept poking at the fire. "You are home," she said. "No. I mean I want to go back. To the city. To my place. To—" She turned to me slowly. Her eyes were darker than I remembered. "Why would you want to go back to people who left you?" "I left them," I said. "Because of you." Silence. Then she stood up and walked to the window. She stared into the woods again. "You really shouldn't have done that." I stood too. "What does that mean?" She didn't answer. Just smiled at the glass like something on the other side was making her laugh. I packed a bag that night. I planned to hike out at first light. But I didn't make it to morning. Something woke me. A noise. Like a child laughing, but warped. Echoed. I sat up and immediately felt it. Something wrong in the air. Heavy. Buzzing. Emily was gone again. The front door stood open. And outside, in the snowy clearing, were figures. Not people. Tall, thin, too many joints. They moved like puppets with broken strings. Emily stood among them. She was smiling. One of the things stepped forward, and even though it had no face, I felt it look at me. Deep. Through everything. It knew me. I slammed the door and locked it. For hours, I sat with a kitchen knife in my hand, waiting. The sun eventually rose. The clearing was empty. And Emily was sitting in the armchair, drinking her coffee. "Rough night?" she asked. I didn't answer. "They won't hurt you," she said softly. "As long as I say so." That's when I realized the truth. It wasn't that she was possessed or crazy. She was in control. And I was never supposed to leave. I pretended. For another day, I pretended. I laughed. I cooked. I kissed her. I told her she was right. Then I waited until she was asleep. And I ran. I didn't take the trail. I went through the woods, GPS in hand, moving by moonlight. I heard them behind me the whole way. Whispering. Clicking. Calling my name. But I didn't stop. I made it to a road and flagged down a logging truck. I lied to the driver. Said I got lost hiking. He believed me. When I got home, I turned off my phone. Changed my locks. Didn't answer the door for days. But that didn't stop her. She left a note in my mailbox 3 days later. No stamp. No envelope. Just a scrap of paper that said, "You'll miss me. And when you do, they'll come back." Part 3/3. I didn't call anyone for a week. Not my parents. Not my job. Not Danny or Liv or Connor, though I wrote and deleted texts to them 100 times. What could I even say? "Hey, sorry I disappeared. My girlfriend might be a forest witch or the queen of some eldritch shadow creatures. I'm good, though. Miss you." Yeah, that'd go over great. The nightmares started the second night I was back. I'd wake up soaked in sweat, convinced Emily was standing at the end of my bed. Or that those tall, two-jointed figures were inside the walls, whispering in reverse. But the worst dream, and I know it was a dream because if it wasn't, I'd lose my mind, was the one where I woke up in my apartment, walked into the living room, and Emily was sitting on the couch with my friends. Danny was braiding her hair. Liv and Connor were laughing at something she just said. Then they all turned to me at once and smiled. Same smile, like they'd always belonged to her. Eventually, I broke down and texted Liv. Me, "Hey, can we talk?" No reply. I tried Connor. Same. Danny too. It was like I didn't exist anymore. That night, my front door unlocked itself. I live in a walk-up with no doorman. Only one key. I sat there frozen as I heard the latch click, the knob turn, and the door creak slowly open. No one was there. Just a folded piece of paper on the floor. "They're lonely without you." I knew I couldn't stay there, but I didn't know where else to go. Every place I thought of, my old friend's apartments, my parents' place, even my office, felt compromised. Like she could get in. Like they were already hers. So I went to a hotel. One of those anonymous chains off the highway. Paid cash. Used a fake name. The room was bland and ugly, and for a few hours I felt safe. Until I turned on the TV. No signal. Just static. And buried in the white noise, I heard her voice. "Come back. You left them. You're the one who opened the door." I unplugged the TV. That night, I wrote everything down. The whole story. Printed copies. Mailed them to myself. Set up scheduled emails with the documents attached. Insurance. If something happened to me, someone would know. And then, like a total idiot, I did the thing horror movie characters always do. I went back. I told myself I was going to burn the place down. Salt the ground. Smash whatever altar or gateway or twisted nest she'd built. I bought gas cans. Lighters. I even brought an iron crowbar because I read somewhere that iron messes with spirits. Yeah. Read it might save my life, I guess. The cabin looked exactly the same. Snowy. Quiet. Peaceful. But I felt it watching me the second I stepped onto the property line. The trees leaned in. The air was thicker. I tried the front door. Unlocked? Of course. Inside, nothing. No Emily. No figures. Just the faint smell of lavender and wood smoke. I walked from room to room, heart hammering. It all felt too quiet. Then I found the mirror. A full-length one I didn't remember being there. It stood in the bedroom, leaning against the far wall. In the reflection, the room looked normal. But I didn't. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. I turned around fast. Nothing. No one behind me. When I looked back, the mirror was empty. Just the room. No me. Then the reflection stepped forward. out of the mirror. I wish I could say I fought it, that I was brave. But I screamed, dropped the crowbar, ran. The thing that looked like me didn't chase me. It just stood there watching, grinning. I made it to the car, peeled off, didn't look back. The next morning, there was a voicemail on my phone. No number, just her voice. You can't run from where you belong. That was 6 weeks ago. Since then, I've changed my name again. I move cities every few days. I don't sleep more than an hour at a time. But the letters keep finding me. Folded in my socks. Slipped into my groceries. Taped to the mirror in a gas station bathroom. Same handwriting. Same message. They're getting impatient. I don't know how to stop them. I don't know if I can. But if you're reading this, if you've ever felt like someone was watching you when you're alone, or if your reflection doesn't quite match your movements, get out. Delete her number. Cut ties. Don't answer the knock at the door. Because once they find you, you don't get to leave.